for watching the Daily Debate Live Wednesdays with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Well, from the mother of the world to every corner of the whole world, tonight the Nile TV International, the voice of Egypt to the whole world, is shedding light on the people of determination and how the new republic is definitely cooperating with the international organization Special Olympics in order to unleash their human spirit through education, through community work, driving social change that is creating definitely a new world today of cohesion and community where every single person is accepted and appreciated and welcomed. Tonight I'm having all the honor and pleasure of hosting His Excellency Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab, who is the Special Olympics Managing Director, Special Olympics MENA region. Thank you so much, sir, for joining Nile TV.
Thanks a lot. It's my honor to.
Our honor and pleasure, Your Excellency, for sharing with us the achievements of MENA Special Olympics on this episode that is dedicated to showing from the mother of the world how we have a successful track of records of regional games, award-winning world games in more than one field. The first ever Pan-African Games, if we would remember a flashback, that was in 2020, unified sports. This in addition also to local and regional competitions. So the new republic is investing, as we all know, His Excellency President Abdel al-Sisi is investing in the human being, the Egyptian, the human character, who are considered to be our treasure, paying special attention to people with determination. MENA President and the Regional Director, Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab, and Special Olympics had presented the International Award of Special Olympics to His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for his efforts in supporting people with special needs in Egypt. And as we all know, that this award is considered to be one among the most prestigious awards granted to kings and presidents and also benevolent individuals that care for people with determination. So Egypt is considered to be among the important countries praised in social work in general. Let us first check the upcoming profile of His Excellency Engineer Abdel Wahab, and we will be back for further discussion. Thank you for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab is the MENA Special Olympics President and Managing Director, responsible for developing the Special Olympics programs in the MENA countries. In 1997, Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab was first introduced to the world of Special Olympics and started sharing the joy of serving the athletes. And as a pioneering volunteer contributing to the success of Egypt's Special Olympics program, Engineer Abdel Wahab was then nominated as Egypt's Special Olympics National Director. As a result of his efforts, Special Olympics Egypt was chosen by Special Olympics International as a model program to follow around the world, and afterwards, Engineer Abdel Wahab was chosen to lead the MENA region as the Special Olympics International Regional President and Managing Director. Throughout his career at the helm of Special Olympics, Engineer Abdel Wahab has spared no effort to transform Special Olympics in the MENA region into a movement focusing on acceptance, inclusion, and respect for differently abled individuals, launching the region's most ambitious growth agenda to date. Engineer Abdel Wahab has worked over the years to bring issues related to intellectual disabilities to the forefront with the regional leaders and dignitaries. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, His Majesty King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Her Majesty Queen Rania Al Abdullah, His Royal Highness Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Her Excellency Mrs. Nazik Al Hariri, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and others. Engineer Abdel Wahab has also supervised the MENA Regional Games in Morocco, Lebanon, Tunisia, the UAE, Syria, and Egypt in December 2014 under the auspices of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who was keen to attend the Regional Games opening ceremony himself. It's worth mentioning that Engineer Abdel Wahab has played a catalytic role in bringing the first ever World Olympic type games of any kind to be held in the MENA region. And he was able to forge more harmonious relations with country leaders and governments in support of having a better world. In addition to all what was mentioned, Engineer Ayman was able to put together historical mission moments, a legacy of first evers, the first ever Pan-African Games, the first ever unity of two Special Olympic regions, Africa and MENA, the first ever families exhibition, the first ever 50% female participation, and most importantly, the first ever Special Olympics Pan-African Games in Egypt that was held in 2020 under the patronage of His Excellency President Abdel al-Sisi. Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab has applied all the new initiatives created by Special Olympics International enhancing the athletes' quality of life, including the athlete leadership programs, cross-cultural research, health initiatives, education development, and family support. In 2014, President Abdel al-Sisi appointed Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab at the Presidential Advisory Board on Community Development, which is composed of specialized scholars, professors, experts, and youth leaders in different social and community realms. In 2022, the International Special Olympics Committee granted President Sisi the organization's International Award, its most prestigious honor granted to kings and presidents supporting people with disabilities. In this regard, President Sisi voiced deep appreciation and gratitude for the award, stating that it reflects Egypt's efforts in embodying the humanitarian message towards the people of determination, a message based on the values of love, respect and appreciation for them as well as their differences.
We're back, and we salute Your Excellency for all the hard work that.
Thank you so much. I'm really, so happy with this report because I didn't imagine what we have passed through over the years, and it gives a great brief of what happened during the past 2 decades. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, the world of Special Olympics is really special, and I know that it's so much close to your heart.
Yeah. Actually, it started, with, to be clear, with Mrs. Magda Musa, if you may recall her.
Yeah.
When she started the first ever special class in a regular school back in 1973. And this was only 5 years after the World Special Olympics International started. It was started by World Games 1968. She started this 1973. She was, a pioneer in this field. I was lucky that she's my aunt, and then she asked me to join and help, and this was back in 1998. When they were preparing for the first ever MENA Games to be hosted in Egypt under the auspices of the First Lady at that time. And it was, a real challenge for me and for the team to host the first ever. It was only like 13 countries, 200 athletes, but still it was the first ever, so it was a challenge at that time. The money was a challenge, the accommodation was a challenge to have everyone in place, the stadium or the Olympic or the venues also was a challenge. So, but still we succeeded a lot in 1999 with the first ever MENA Games. I was lucky that the chairman of Special Olympics International was in attendance of the closing ceremony of the first MENA Games. So I got to know him, and this was February 1999, but I didn't imagine what he's planning for, because he came to me after about 2 years, end of 2020, asking me to be the president for the MENA region. Of course, this was the main contact between us, it was just February 1999. So I didn't imagine that he is, thinking about it. So he asked me for this. And at that time, I was really in a position that I'm not sure if I should expand my business in this field or just remain in Egypt and help Egypt. But why they asked me? Because we were very successful in Egypt when we started with only 2,000 athletes from all over Egypt.
A story of success.
Yeah, and we reached 15,000 athletes. This in just 2 years. So they found that we have, doubled the number by 7 times in just 2 years. It's a model program for them. So why not to take Ayman and ask him to go through the region and make the same? And exactly this is what happened. 2001, I accepted the position for 5-year plan, and it's a 5-year term.
Yeah.
So this is my 5th term. And this is tells you, this tells you that how I got attached to it, and how you feel when you work in this field, that the outcome is much, much more than any other field.
Yeah.
So I was so happy with the position at the beginning. It was, a tough position, but at the same time, you were building something that maybe history will be mentioning in the future. I started copying what happened in Egypt. We had the First Lady at that time in Egypt overseeing the program. So I started contacting, all the top government officials in each country. So I was able to recruit most of the kings, the princes, the sheikhs, the queens, the first ladies, and we started from there, because I believe at that time that this would give a good example to the people to follow. If they are going to see the leadership of the country is doing that, so then it's easily that the people will follow, business people will follow, all the fields
will follow suit.
Will follow, not because they want to be close to the idea, but also because they will believe that there is some sort of trust, that this leadership is overseeing what's happening in this business.
Yes.
So we were able really to recruit many leaders, and then the surprise happened in 2011, when all the countries in the region started what the so-called at that time Arab Spring, which I think it was an Arab autumn, because it's have been proven by time it was not the right, path that we should go. So we, as if we are going to start again from scratch, but the best thing about it that we had the infrastructure in each country, but still the leaders are not there anymore. And there is a total change of leaders.
Yeah.
So it took me, like 4 or 5 years again to come back.
Certainly.
And we came back and as proudly as I'm saying here, that we came back with the MENA Games. It was the 8th MENA Games in Egypt by the Egyptian local organizing committee. So I was so proud that also the president, the first event that he attended as a sports event after 6 months of his term, the beginning of his term, was the Special Olympics MENA Games opening ceremony.
Yes.
And I think everyone watched that. And since this evening, I believe that there was some change of the perception, the way of the people thinking more. I'm not saying that we started at that night, but if we say that we were like 40%, we came suddenly to 90% of the public awareness.
Yeah.
So afterwards, we had also, we were able, some people were laughing at me, if I may say, when I was talking about the MENA region host the World Games. The World Games is 7,000 athletes.
Yeah.
200 countries. So, and you know that Special Olympics, no one is paying anything. The host country should pay everything. So at this moment, the people were laughing, you know, we are coming out of the, what's so-called the Arab Spring, you know, to that Ayman is talking about 2019 to host the World Games. We were so lucky that I, you know, had this meeting with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and we discussed the idea. And honestly speaking, I was surprised too at that time because his response was so great.
So positive. Yeah.
So positive. With me was also Hussein Fahmy, the legend, the famous artist. You know, Hussein is one of our global ambassadors now for the Special Olympics. Goodwill
Very much
ambassadors.
well deserved. Yeah.
And he helped a lot also. He is since 2007 around us. So 2007 now we are talking about 16 years or so. So he helped a lot. We finalized that we are going to bid for the games. We bid for the games. We won by all votes, all the 39 votes. And the UAE, Abu Dhabi, mainly hosted the World Games. And this was the first ever World Games of Olympic type of any kind. First ever in the Middle East. At the same time in an Arab country. The third thing that it's a Muslim country. You know, many successes, we can say, happened with hosting these games. After the games, of course, we started again to think about creating something which we should not be, you know, like a legacy of the games. So I was also in the UAE, and we were discussing with the people that we are going to host the first ever Africa Games. However, Africa is not totally my region. I have only North Africa.
Yeah.
So we needed to work with the regional president of Africa together on these games. And it was a great success. It was the first ever Africa Games. The president, his generosity that he accepted the idea that we are going to have the first ever in Africa Games in Egypt.
In Egypt, yeah.
And he was at that time the president of the African Union.
Yeah.
So it was the last month of his presidential
Of Egypt's
term.
chairmanship of the African Union.
Yeah, so we accepted, and it was a great success, the first time ever. I can't tell you what happened, and proudly, it was the only games that happened throughout the world in the Special Olympics, because right after the games, it was end of February, the pandemic started. So everything was shut down. So as if we were talking, all the world have been talking about these games for at least the past 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
This took us to the idea also that the president should be, you know, recognized in a way or another, because he started 2014. He gave the leadership, the power to the movement, and also not only Special Olympics, he is really concerned about all type of disabilities.
Yes, he loves the differently abled, and there is some sort of a rapport, like closeness. You can see this even in the different conventions.
That's true. He gave a great push. We had the first ever, you know, event that he is attending. Is a Special Olympics event. Afterwards, he worked, or he gave the instruction to work on the modifying the law of disability. And this is something that all people with disabilities have been looking for.
Definitely, it was unprecedented, actually. Yeah.
So, with the Africa Games, so we decided that he should get the international prize, which is always presented to the kings, as the report said, and the presidents of the countries. And we came here, and because of what he have done, all the regional presidents, you know, we are 7 over the world, 7 regions, so 7 regional presidents, they all came to present
the award. Yeah.
And this is rarely happens because, you know, normally every president, regional president is busy with his or her region. But all of them insisted that his leadership, what he have done in just a very short time, 8 years relatively, should be
recognized.
Yeah, from all the regions in the world. So I think, and now we are talking...
And this is a recognition of Egypt. Egypt as a heavyweight, when you find that all the regions of the world honoring...
And now we are talking about deciding also on Egypt hosting the first ever, again, Mediterranean Games. And this will be between North Africa and Europe. Because, you know, Mediterranean Games are the Mediterranean countries.
Yes.
So we are thinking about always being a pioneer as we started in Egypt first, and then also as a region.
Yes, the launching pad in Egypt and as a region, and actually the Special Olympics, you know, one working in that field should have a passion definitely for it, a vision. This in addition also to working on training and the introduction also of new initiatives.
You are correct. Actually, Special Olympics, I didn't treat it since the beginning as a cause. Because if you treat it as a cause, there are much more important causes than us, like the cancer. It's very critical. Okay? If you are talking about treating it as a typical business, then it's not correct because it's not the football. It's not, you know, the basketball in the US or something like that. So we started to deal with it as a semi-business, and the product here is our athlete. So at this moment, if we were successful in this idea that we are following, we were able at the end to get, you know, the results. Because if you treat it as a cause, the outcome will not be the same. And if you treat it as a business, typical business, it will not be the same. So something in the middle, and we were so successful to the extent that we started by, as I told you, 20,000 athletes in the region. Now we have about 250,000.
Wow, that's a big hit, mashallah. That's great. Special Olympics actually provides year-round sports training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic-type sports for children as well as adults also with intellectual activities, disabilities. Those activities definitely gives them many opportunities in order to develop their physical fitness and to demonstrate experience, joy, and also participate in the sharing of gifts and many skills around. We're still continuing our lovely discussion. A short break and we'll be back. Alhamdulillah. Yes, this is the new republic, this sense of inclusion, understanding of the other. And as Khadija was just saying, they have to understand us, include us, and let them all share the responsibility
this is what exactly
for the nation.
Special Olympics is about. Inclusion in the communities through sports.
Right.
It's not the medal. It's not, the target is not the medal. The target is how the medal is going to change the life of the athlete to be part of the community. And this is exactly what I think the president have been doing for some good years now, and also what the people with disabilities are expecting from us. They just wanted to be included, nothing else. So, and I think we have also, you know, a campaign which is, I believe, it's really means a lot. The revolution is inclusion.
Yes.
You know,
very meaningful.
Yeah, very meaningful. Of course, it's difficult when we translate it to Arabic because some people will think that So the idea is that having the revolution,
A revolution in the mindset.
that's it, in every single, you know, aspect that affect the people with disabilities.
Yes. Well, more than one. Speaking for inclusion, we have also the culture of having the unified sports.
Yeah.
And this has been
This is
a
very
great
special,
idea.
Yeah,
very special.
with us also because it started, you know, like a decade ago when we thought about how to get quickly our athletes included in the community. So we started thinking about all the teams, all the double players can be one with disability, one without disability. The teams, half of the team and half of the team. So it was really a good step because by chance, we were, you know, in Berlin for 2023.
Yes.
And by chance, I was on the same flight with some of the delegation or part of the delegation of Egypt. So by chance, I talked to one of the partners who are without disabilities. And they were 2 or 3 together coming, and they told us, at that time we were a group of people listening to them, they told us we learned what we would have never thought that we are going to be learning. Because, you know, the experience itself is something, and when you're talking or putting it in the books or on the papers is something else.
Yes, living it is something else.
Living it. So they lived it, and they came out of the experience by very positive, to the extent that they are going to continue with the program, even there is a competition or not, they must be involved, and they want to be friends with their partners because they are staying in the same room together, every 2 of them,
Yes.
one with and one without. So I think it's really a good step, the unified sports. Now we have not only unified sports, we have also unified champion schools, and this is applying the unified sports idea in schools. So really I believe that we are on the way to have a real revolution regarding the inclusion.
Yes, definitely more than one hit. And since Your Excellency has mentioned Berlin, and this is another hit because the Special Olympics movement actually held in Berlin was another step forward that is giving Germany and Berlin an important push for this sense of inclusion. So tell us more about the behind-the-scene efforts in Berlin.
Actually, this games was really, you know, so difficult to be held.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's coming after the pandemic. It's 4 years.
Yes.
You know, every 4 years. So 2019 was in Abu Dhabi, and 2021 was cancelled because of the pandemic, which is the Winter Games. The Summer Games again 2023. So why it was difficult for them? Because the people are coming from the pandemic, back from the pandemic. The second thing, they are after Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was a 7 stars
Yes, the hit.
organization. Yeah, it was a real hit for all of us. So the Germans were in a very, you know, tough situation to be able to have something, you know, comparable or let us say comparable, not competitive, because they can't, you know, no one can compete with Abu Dhabi. What happened in Abu Dhabi, to be honest. So they tried their best. It was a big challenge, of course, to get all the programs coming again together in one place again after these 3 years of almost complete closure. So they decided to invite all the countries. They were insisting that everyone comes. To the extent we face some, you know, problems with the visas. Some other countries don't have the enough money to travel, so they even paid for tickets. They are paying for accommodation anyway. So I think the Germans, with these 2 factors, that they are coming after Abu Dhabi with the great success of the top-level organization. The second, also coming back from the pandemic. So I believe they have done a great job because it was 200 countries, 7,000 athletes, 26 sports, family forum, youth summit,
Yes.
You know, many activities alongside with the games. So
Yes.
it was, I think it was a great success, at least if you are coming back after 4 years, yes, it is by any means a great success.
Yes, very important, you know, March, when we are talking also about the great gesture before that 2018 was actually named by the president as a year dedicated to serve the differently abled. And that was actually unprecedented, and it gave a great moral boost to the whole team, isn't it?
This was also one of the main reasons that the Special Olympics Board of Directors, you know, decided to give the prize to the president. Because, as I told you, his involvement with Special Olympics, but also his two main steps was the Year of Disability, 2018, and the law of the people with disabilities. It was, I think, these two, they are can be considered as part of the revolution is inclusion.
Yes, the revolution is inclusion, and still is a very important motto, Engineer Ayman, let me say. Your Excellency, talking about your background as an engineer, and especially in telecommunications. And I guess that in dealing with the differently abled, having a background in telecommunications was a definitely a plus, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, I believe that, not because I am, you know, oriented, but I believe the engineers learned how to work on any project. This is according to their studies. They know how to get the things together and put it, study it, and then put an, you know, a strategic plan and an action plan. So this is exactly what we applied in Special Olympics. Of course, being an engineer, and I worked in many multinational companies before being involved with the Special Olympics, it gave me a lot of experience. It helped me very much to also, if we're talking about digitizing the work, it helped a lot because we needed...
And the equipment as well,
and we needed
that would help them.
We needed at the pandemic time, everything started to be virtually.
Right.
So it was, you know, digitizing the movement was one of our main targets during, you know, the pandemic. So, of course, every single, you know, one who studied whatever is, in a way or another, helping in a certain role.
Yes.
But the most important, I think, that I learned, that we are learning from these athletes. It's not the other way around only. They are teaching us, and we are teaching them.
Yeah, win-win.
We are trying to let them get involved and be part of the community, and they are teaching us that there is some other people that you need to take care that they are there. So it is, I think, a win-win, as you said, and at the same time, the results, when you see the athlete and his family mainly, is proud of him or her during the awarding ceremony, or according to his involvement or her involvement in a youth summit or in a youth leadership program. They are, sometimes the families comes and tell us, we are proud of our son or daughter with intellectual disability more than the others because he or she took us to be on TV, for example. So people are appreciating, you know, when we are seeing a good outcome. Also, we are trying our best all the time to make mainly the family happy. Because, you know, they are
they are taking the load.
They are the main people real suffering, especially in the case of intellectual disabilities, you know. Because physically, the people with physical disabilities, they can be a professor in the university, they can be even a president of the country, you know, with physical disability, no problem. Because, but the people who need more, you know, care and attention to the family is the people with intellectual disability.
Yes, that's so true. We have another legacy, the legacy of the first evers. What's the story behind this legacy?
Well, yeah, let us say I love this idea. I love the idea of being, you know, the first one to do.
Yeah.
So I was involved with the first ever MENA game. I was involved with the first ever word games in the region.
Yes.
Then the first ever Africa game, the first ever Mediterranean game. So I love this because it gives, you know, the floor to others to start. And at the same time, I believe always, if you are not going to be creative as much as we can, you know, to be sure that everyone is, you know, paying attention, you should attract people through new initiatives.
Yes. Well, more than one initiative actually throughout the years we find that those important initiatives had enhanced actually the quality of life of the athletes, and this has been also a very important and a noble cause, that we are with them step by step and we are watching out their performances, we're watching their training so that they can like reach another level.
Maybe the public will be watching this, but for us being responsible, we are always watching how much we made a real change in the life of this athlete.
Yeah.
You know, not only the award is part of it, the medal is part of it, but how we made this
How we make a
athlete,
difference in their lives.
yeah, and how to make people proud of him or her, how he can behave. You know, we had last week the regional meeting, and we were planning for 2024. And first time I had to meet one of my friends that he is having a kid with intellectual disability, and he is never were involved with Special Olympics before. So I blamed him, of course, and I asked him that he should come to attend our meeting. I can't tell you, you feel the difference. The first day this young athlete came in, he is 18 years. And the last day, after 3 days, I can't tell you the change. First day, he was not even talking. The last day, we can't stop him of talking. You know, just
became
in 3
involved,
years,
yeah.
just in 3 he felt included.
Yeah, right.
And this is the idea. So keeping good care of your kids, this is something we appreciated, but take care, don't isolate the kids. Try to include them in communities, try to be part of the revolution is inclusion.
Yes, the revolution is inclusion, and the sky is the limit. So let me ask you, Engineer Ayman, about your dreams for this beautiful cause.
My dreams, first of all, of course, to find a successor. Because, you know, so one day we will, you know.
We're building
we are building,
cadres,
and we are
definitely.
And we are trying to find a successor to ensure that this organization will continue on the same level. This is my main target now. The second target, of course, as I told you, we are trying to host first ever Mediterranean Games. I hope, but again, by 2031 maybe, the region will host again the World Games. And this can be my real retirement time.
God bless you, God bless your efforts, and we're really proud of you.
Thanks
and
a lot.
the noble cause that we are all working on. Inclusion is, the revolution is in the inclusion, as you
you
were
are
saying.
part of the revolution now. You became
Definitely,
part
the
of
media is playing a very important role to let all the people know more about this noble cause, and not only the challenges but also the opportunities. And this is what matters. Engineer Ayman Abdel Wahab, Managing Director of MENA Special Olympics, my guest of honor for Wednesday Debate Live. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot, and it's really my pleasure, and thanks again for giving me this opportunity, because at the end you are helping with the public awareness at the community level.
Our pleasure, and from Nile TV International, the Voice of Egypt, to the whole world. We thank this noble cause and working together hand in hand for tomorrow to be brighter. I'm Taghreed Hussein, and that was the Daily Debate for tonight. Many thanks for watching.